Time for the press review. Deepti Laurent is with me now on the set to take a look at what the papers are saying today. Hi, Deepti.
Hi, Jeannie.
One of the big stories, of course, is this focus on Mark Zuckerberg, the head of Facebook, who's going to be speaking to the U.S. Congress today over the hijacking of the data of millions of Facebook users.
That's right, 87 million users. In fact, he'll be there to discuss that data hijacking scandal, as well as other scandals involving the Russian misinformation campaign in 2016. Anyway, he's already released his comments ahead of time, saying it was my mistake and I'm sorry. I'm prepared to take responsibility. That's what's on the front page of The Guardian, with a picture of him meeting U.S. lawmakers on Monday. The design and tech website Gizmodo is not really buying into all of this. They've actually come up with a Zuckerberg bingo that you can play while he delivers those comments. You can tick off the number of times, for instance, that he offers, quote, robotic apologies, and the times he might mention that he's not wearing a hoodie. Indeed, he will be in a suit and tie for once. Anyway, this whole scandal has really left him rather naked to criticism, as you see here from this illustration by the Dutch cartoonist Tom Jansen. Indeed, it's left his business model naked as well. Will his mea culpa be enough to sway users, some of them who've been actively following the delete Facebook movement? Many of them have been left feeling Facebooked or fooked, as you say here.
This is a bit of a turnaround from Mark Zuckerberg. He's usually very reclusive, kind of geeky, you might say, and here he is actually starting to court the media.
Well, he has no choice in a way. Indeed, the tech mogul has even been getting media training on how to appear sympathetic in public. He's gone on a media blitz talking to websites like Vox and The Atlantic, as you see here in this interview. He says he won't step down, but has admitted the scandal has shifted how he views his responsibility. He also talks about wanting to implement new Facebook reforms that would involve more independent auditing of the social media website. Still, there are some calls in the American media for him to be held accountable for these scandals. At least that's the opinion from USA Today. Their writer there, Russ Baker, urges Congress not to be tempted to go easy on Zuckerberg because of his, quote, philanthropy or shy, boyish manner. For far too long, I quote, he has relied upon legions of surrogates, underlings, flacks, and a blizzard of apologetic press releases.
All right, another top story today, of course, is that suspected chemical attack in Syria, which is continuing to elicit anger in many papers.
Well, we know that Donald Trump has announced a quick response. Well, L'Orient Le Jour, the Lebanese French language daily, wonders if the West is really prepared to pay the price for what is really an arm wrestle with Moscow or with Russia. Libération, the French paper, is focusing on on the weekend's chemical attack, calling out what it calls the impunity of the Syrian regime. How long will we let them be like this? How long will this impunity go on for? They're publishing, like many papers, a harrowing picture of one of the victims. The international community, the paper says, has been inert up to now, but Libé hopes that maybe for once it might actually be kicked into action. While you have the editors at the New York Times who are going with a cartoon rather than a shock value image today. They say Trump has tried to seem like the macho leader who will be able to succeed where Barack Obama wasn't able to, but with no clear plan, he's only empowering the Syrian leader.
In the Netherlands, now something completely different. A commemoration of Second World War resistance fighters has actually been marred by a fat-shaming scandal.
This is an annual event, Jeannie, in The Hague that takes place on May the 4th to honor the Dutch resistance fighters who were murdered by the Nazis. It's seen as one of the most important ceremonies in the country. This year, though, organizers have been told to ban overweight members of the Guard of Honor. Apparently, and this is a true story, apparently the bursting buttons, I'm quoting from this article, on their uniform were so distracting it prompted dozens of viewer complaints. And so the organizers have been forced to take action. In the Dutch press, it's getting a lot of coverage, as you can imagine. This writer here says, one of the few paradoxes of our times is that you have more and more overweight people, and you have fewer and fewer places where it's acceptable. Is it May the 4th yet? Time to hit the gym.
All right, so something completely different now. The much-loved cartoon The Simpsons has also found itself in a bit of a scandal, this time over race.
Well, last fall, you might remember, a comedian released a documentary about the negative racist stereotypes of the Simpsons Indian character Abu. Now, he's a shop owner with a very thick Indian accent, voiced, I might add, by a white man. Well, the Simpsons has actually addressed the documentary in one of their recent episodes with a, quote, dismissive shrug, as Slate says. They basically called it political correctness, and Lisa Simpson, adding fuel to the fire, said, "Don't have a cow." Not surprisingly, it hasn't gone down too well with too many people.
Indeed. All right, just to wrap up now, Dipti, there's a luxury new hotel. Sounds great, but it'll set you back $9.5 million.
It's a celestial B&B, literally, because it's actually a space hotel. This is the Aurora station. You could spend 12 days here if you pay $9.5 million. You get really amazing views of Earth and the universe. You could eat non-space food, have drinks, play cards, be merry. It is, though, like a tiny studio apartment being shared by 6 people. So at that price, I think I'd rather just take a hotel room in Paris.
I'm not even sure you could get it. They are expensive here. Dipti, thank you for that. Dipti Laurent there with that look at the press today. You can get a closer look at the press review, of course, on our website. The address is France24.com.